I am really reluctant to do this after so many years of not being able to be together, and now we are together. But I must ask you to try, find yourself a seat or a perch, and give some attention, not so much to me, but to the program that we have planned for you this evening. Because it is an amazing program, and all of the people that we are honoring and all of the guest speakers that we will be hearing from deserve your attention. My name is Jessica Hilburn Holmes, and I'm the Executive Director of the Philadelphia Bar Foundation, and I am incredibly privileged to have that position and to be here tonight to welcome you all. I must tell you that I did not do this alone. Colleen Byrne and Paul Kirk and Ruth Hygis have been extraordinary in pulling this event together this year. So please give them your applause. In addition to the people in the room, we do, I hope, have some people joining us online, and I want you to feel as welcome as the people who are in the room. We really appreciate everyone's attention and support for the work that we do, because we know how important it is, as you do. I also want to make sure that you all know how to access your program booklets, because in an attempt to be a little green, we didn't furnish you each with a paper program. But on the tables in front of you and on the screen where you're accessing this link, you will find a link to the program book. And please spend a few minutes looking at it. It's well worth it. The bios of the individuals who we're honoring are worth every second of your time, and we won't spend that much time standing up here talking about it, so please take your time to do that. In order to kick things off, I would like to first invite the co-chairs of this event to the podium, Chris Durham and Mark Zucker.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight, both those of you who are here in person, as well as those of you who are tuning in from home. We'd like to take the opportunity to briefly thank those who support the Bar Foundation with their time and generosity. First, I'd like to thank the Bar Foundation's Unified Giving partners, many of whom are here tonight, for their ongoing support. I'd also like to thank all of the sponsors of tonight's event, with a special thanks to Equality sponsors JND Legal Administration and AB Data Class Action Notice and Claims Administration. We'd also like to thank our diversity sponsors, Huntington National Bank, Everlaw, and Kroll Settlement Administration. In addition, we'd like to thank Mark and my fellow trustees on the board of the Philadelphia Bar Foundation, including our chair and president, Meredith Otten, and would like to thank especially the foundation staff, who work so hard to make, on a day-to-day basis, the mission of the foundation come through. And that's Executive Director Jessica Hilburn Holmes, Development and Communications Coordinator Colleen Byrne, and Director of Operations Paul Kirk.
Adding to thanks, we are really standing here in awe of the nonprofit partners who work day in and day out to serve their clients and the community as a whole. We're grateful to the legal community, to each of you here in the room and those attending virtually for your tremendous generosity. You help to fund the grants that we give to nonprofit partners. You've given before, and many of you will be adding to those gifts this evening. That's why we've made it easier by putting a QR code on the back of your name badge. We spared no effort to try and make it easy for you to give, and we hope that you will continue to give generously. Perhaps you want to make a donation in the name of one of our honorees, or you just want to be sure that one of these or all of these organizations are adequately funded at a time of such great need. Either way, we're happy to help you do that. Just please let one of us know if you have any difficulty doing so. And last but certainly not least, thank you, Chris Durham, for being such an engaged and persistent co-chair of this event. We all owe you a debt of gratitude for making this happen. Now we'd like to invite Jessica back to the stage to introduce the first award recipient. Thank you. You bet.
So we have 3 awards to give out this evening, which is extraordinary. And the first award is one of our 2 pro bono awards. It is being presented to Ballard Spahr for their Racial Justice and Equality Initiative. We're about to show you a short video, but I want to say first that in standing up this special initiative, Ballard has set a very important example of how the legal industry can step up and show leadership and take responsibility for addressing and ultimately dismantling systemic injustices in the rule of law ecosystem, which we as lawyers occupy, inhabit, and benefit from. And it's now time for us to ensure that all members of the society can flourish and fulfill their dreams. Please watch the video.
In the aftermath of the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, as well as others, there were a number of litigators at Ballard who got together and said, well, what can we do about this? What can we do to help? What can we do to affect change?
All of us are becoming more and more aware that the criminal laws simply have not been enforced equally, without regard to income, race, or national origin.
We developed a Racial Justice and Equality Initiative where we would focus litigation resources purposefully on racial justice issues.
Because we who are privileged are not just standing by and watching, but rolling up our sleeves and getting involved, trying to right the wrongs of the past. And it's there that we have seen Ballard be a leader, not just in Philadelphia, but across the state.
We felt like we could be more intentional in how we were approaching issues of racial equity. We'd always done pro bono work, but we wanted to pull together people that we thought were our brightest people, most innovative, that could look at the issue from all different dimensions.
It's been pretty remarkable to see our lawyers mobilize around a number of critical issues touching on racial injustice, whether it's voting rights, juvenile justice, equal access to education, criminal record expungements, a range of things.
And they are doing such things as enhancing voter access and trying to beat back the attacks, which are very troubling, on voter rights, combining with groups in the Midwest to advance causes of Native Americans, working with folks in Maryland to try to bring equity there, to try to do something about the very, very disproportionate number of folks who are in prison for life.
They were one of the first law firms in Philadelphia and in the state to volunteer for the Pardon Project. They've had almost 100 lawyers and dozens of paralegals sign up as volunteers and have helped over 100 clients apply for pardons.
Where can we step in to make the most impact for the focus of the initiative? And so in the media group, we're constantly looking around the country at any new outlets that are focused on covering diverse communities, and how can we help?
If we can do things like break down barriers to the right to an education, if we can make sure people have the right to housing, the right to be free from discrimination, we can make this city even better.
Whenever we see racial injustice, I think, law firms should be among the first institutions to speak up. Because of our resources, because of our knowledge of the law, and because of our ability to change things that aren't right.
There's a lot to do. This is a long-term commitment. So far, I think we've helped make incremental change, but the goal is to be a part of this process over the next many years.
It's really been exciting, and I think in terms of evaluating success, we'll have to see. I hope we're making the impact, and we certainly appreciate it being recognized here today.
I would like to invite the Ballards Bar team to come to the stage to receive their award. You can see it takes a village.
Thank you.
Our second pro bono award this evening is being presented to Duane Morris for their enormously robust and outstanding pro bono support to a wide range of social and legal service providers and nonprofits in our region, including several of the Bar Foundation's own nonprofit partners. And several of them are represented in this room, and they can tell you their stories personally. As you will see in a moment, the breadth and depth of their pro bono services is inspiring. Again, a vivid and laudable example of the notion that with great power comes great responsibility. Please see the video.
The team from Duane Morris, under the leadership of Valentine Brown and Kat McGee, has not only done a tremendous amount of pro bono work themselves, but they are leaders in sourcing opportunities for the broader legal community to get involved.
The fact that they're such active members of the ecosystem of pro bono services means that if they're our point of contact, they're not only our point of contact for Duane Morris, but to the entire community of support that we or our clients might be able to find.
Their pro bono team is just so unique in that regard, in their willingness to dive in, master the subjects, answer the questions for their own attorneys. They're really a partner above and beyond anything we could ask for in pro bono.
But what's especially remarkable about Duane Morris is that they haven't shied away from challenging cases or issues that have often been portrayed as controversial, but are so important for people's health and well-being, such as reproductive rights.
Duane Morris has both represented low-income immigrants themselves, low-income immigrants as pro bono referrals from us, and has advocated on a broader level for better immigration policies.
The work that Duane Morris does in partnership with the Food Trust protects our ability to be able to make whole foods, fruits, vegetables, and the like available across all of the communities with whom we work.
Duane Morris's willingness to take on this work greatly enhances our legal advocacy at the Women's Law Project, and it has an enormous impact on women, pregnant people, and their families.
Our immigration system is discriminatory and unfair, but a lot of people don't understand that. So having someone like Duane Morris who develops those kinds of expertise, it's incredible.
We can reach out to Duane Morris about almost anything, and they've been able to connect us with people who can help.
They almost never say no when we ask them for help, because they have all these different groups and people that they can draw on to do different types of work.
They're always responsive. They're always helping us find resources. They're always helping us to connect to what we need and what our clients need.
The leadership that Duane Morris provides in doing the pro bono work that it does to the broader legal community is to demonstrate the good community partners that Duane Morris represents as a law firm, and we would hope that more follow suit.
We are very, very grateful for their support and all of their efforts.
What you do has a major ripple effect for all of us, and for that we're grateful.
Duane Morris has been a very important pro bono partner for Comcast, and we are so happy to see them recognized with this year's Philadelphia Bar Foundation Pro Bono Award.
Receiving the Philadelphia Bar Foundation Pro Bono Award is an especially sweet honor in light of Philadelphia's amazing ecosystem of legal service organizations and the sheer number of firms that support their work with pro bono attorneys.
We're so lucky to be in a location here in Philadelphia and an ecosystem, a community that's so collaborative, where we all work together to address legal needs in our communities. It's only through our community partners that we're able to do a lot of this work.
To be recognized from among this outstanding group is truly humbling. Every step of the way, our projects and our attorneys are supported by expert, dedicated legal aid lawyers who have infinite patience and kindness to Kat and me in our leadership roles, as well as to our individual volunteers.
The Women's Law Project is thrilled that the Philadelphia Bar Foundation is recognizing Duane Morris for this work, and we congratulate them.
Congratulations to Valentine, Kat, and the rest of the Duane Morris team on this well-deserved honor.
Will the Duane Morris team please come to the stage? I'll get out of the way. Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
I love that term. It's an ecosystem. We all need to be green. Give a little bit. It's now time for the Philadelphia Bar Foundation Award, which I'm so excited and pleased to be presenting to Su-Ming Ye of the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project. The nonprofit lawyers are in the room. Hooray! As you are about to hear, if you don't already know, Su-Ming is an outstanding and compassionate leader and advocate, and she has spent her entire career working tirelessly and relentlessly and creatively to protect and defend the civil and human rights of individuals who are incarcerated or detained. And she has been a personal friend and guide to me in my job, and I am very grateful to her. Please pay attention to the video.
The Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project is a legal aid agency where we serve people who are incarcerated and detained in Pennsylvania. We seek to provide legal help, assistance, and representation for people who are incarcerated, detained in a prison, jail, immigration detention center, halfway house, anywhere where they can't leave of their own volition. And we seek safe and humane conditions for those who are incarcerated.
Su-Ming has been an exemplary leader for us through a very difficult time. She was made the interim executive director and then the full-time executive director at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Her vision and her focus on the rights of persons who were institutionalized made her really the best candidate for that position.
She's been involved in multiple lawsuits that have literally saved the lives of thousands of people.
She's expanded its operations, strengthened diversity, equity, and inclusion at PILP, and increased its funding. And all of this has enabled PILP to provide deeper levels of service at a time when almost no one else had contact with people who are incarcerated.
Her work has led to thousands of prisoners in Pennsylvania receiving treatment for hepatitis C and legal precedents that protect immigration detainees from sexual abuse and incarcerated women from gender-based discrimination. She's also played a key role in 2 different class action lawsuits against the city of Philadelphia, which have helped expose the deplorable conditions in the city's jails.
The reason our work is so important is because people who are incarcerated and detained have both constitutional and civil rights, but also a human right to be treated humanely.
The work of the Institutional Law Project and the incredible detailed dedication that Su Ming has had to that work literally keeps those people alive.
She's got a moral compass that's stuck on justice. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. And has decided to use, both her talents and her efforts to help those who have the least power and influence in the criminal justice system.
She believes in her bones that the law should protect the least powerful and most vulnerable members of our society, and that no matter what, people are entitled to dignity and humane treatment.
So we provide valuable services to those who are incarcerated and detained to ensure their access to medical care, that they are safe from violence, that they are living in humane conditions.
One of Su Ming's strengths is that she is both a guiding light for the organization and also a compassionate human being.
She's dedicated her life and her career to public service and equal access to justice.
She is always the first person to volunteer to help out on various things. She's on more boards than I can count.
I can't tell you how many attorneys I have spoken to who have talked about her leadership, talked about her example, talked about just her kindness.
She demonstrates that it's possible to be a committed advocate and litigator, an effective leader of an organization, and a civic-minded member of the legal community all at once. She inspires her legal aid colleagues to work harder and keep fighting for the rights of their clients, and she inspires members of the broader legal community to do pro bono work on behalf of incarcerated people.
And she continues to break ceilings and be a trailblazer. She's the first Asian American director of a legal aid agency within the Pennsylvania Legal Aid Network, and one of the first, if not the first, to lead a public interest organization in Pennsylvania.
She really treats everyone she interacts with as a whole person. And this makes her both a better advocate for her clients and a stronger leader.
I want to thank the people who nominated me. I want to thank the Philadelphia Bar Foundation. And I have to thank the staff of the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project, who really enable us to serve those who are incarcerated and detained and ensure that they live in safe and humane conditions. And last, I have to thank so much my friends and family who enable me to do this work every day.
Su Ming, please come up.
Thank you so much. I am just blown away. I'm incredibly touched by that video. I had no idea. So I'm just in some ways speechless. But I did want to say that I am so thankful to the Philadelphia Bar Foundation, not only for this award, but for their longstanding support of the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project and for all the public interest and legal aid agencies. I think the Philadelphia Bar Foundation is really there to serve and support organizations who are serving those who need legal help the most, those who are in the greatest distress. So I want to accept this award on behalf of not just me, but on behalf of the staff, the board, and the clients of the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project. As the video said, we work really to ensure that everyone is treated with dignity and that their constitutional civil rights are met. Today, literally, the hepatitis C class action lawsuit concluded. We filed a stipulation of dismissal. Over the past three years or so, thousands of people were able to receive this life-saving medication, started with co-counsel as well, with pro bono counsel from Decker and Carrie Rudofsky, Messing, Feinberg, and Lynn. And I think the named plaintiff in that case, Salvatore Trementi, since I have this platform, I just thought I would tell you a little bit about him.
He's been incarcerated for near 40 years. I myself have known him for about 10. And every step of the way, he's really advocated for himself to get the medical care that he should be entitled to under our Constitution. He was diagnosed with hepatitis C in the early 90s. And if you know anything about hepatitis C, there have been various medical treatments that have evolved, and each time he sought the treatment, and various times he was delayed. So the latest round, in 2013, the FDA approved this medication, the direct-acting antivirals. He wanted, everyone else out here, even people who are, insurance and whatnot, were getting this medication. It was a standard of care. He didn't get this care for 2 years until after we filed this case. And through the lawsuit, he was able to receive that medication, and he was cured of hepatitis C. But with the delay, what this medication doesn't do, it doesn't fix any of the damage inflicted upon his liver already. So today, sadly, he does have cancer from the condition. But I spoke to him the other day, and actually, a small plug, we have an event, a virtual event coming up this Thursday evening where you would, if you wanted to join us, you could hear from him directly about his experience. Because even through all his struggles, he's just very grateful for the legal representation that he has received from us and our organization. And for that, I'm always very touched for the trust that he gives to us and that all our clients give to us. I see this award not really as a recognition of me, but of the important work that the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project does. And it acknowledges that this is important work, even despite its many challenges. It is really easy to see people who are incarcerated as less than, as unworthy, perhaps because of something they may have done. But I think we stand here together understanding that everyone deserves humane treatment, that Sal Trementi's life is just as valued as mine and yours. So I'm so grateful, and I wanted to thank all of you who nominated me, who supported me, my friends and family, the board who's entrusted me to lead this organization, and you all. So thank you again to the Philadelphia Bar Foundation. I'm very grateful.
So, an important part of the Bar Foundation's mission is ensuring that individuals understand their rights to equal justice under law. And tonight, I am very proud to be celebrating an innovative law-related education program here in the city of Philadelphia, the Law and Justice Mentoring Program. This project was the brainchild of the Philadelphia School District's Office of Strategic Partnerships and the Pepper Center for Public Service. I am sure you will be extremely inspired when you see the video of this program.
The Law and Justice Mentoring Program was the brainchild of Ayanna Lewis from the school district.
We developed the Law and Justice Mentorship Program as an opportunity for students to learn about the rich tapestry of legal organizations across the city, to connect with professionals and lawyers that look like them, that are providing advocacy to different communities across the city.
All of us got together, 10 fellows from the Pepper Center worked on this project, and within a matter of months, it came into being.
We thought about how to create a pipeline for students interested in that type of work to connect them to attorneys doing criminal justice, social justice related issues, to help them understand the variety of opportunities open to them in that space, and for them to really think about law, justice, social advocacy as a real pathway.
I went to Kensington Health Sciences Academy for the Law and Justice program, and I got paired up with PA Citizens Project for the summer.
I've interned at Philly VIP this summer.
I got placed with Ceasefire over the summer,
And a couple things that I learned was how they find their pro bono work, how they find clients, how they help their clients, like to the extent like they'll go to help their clients.
They go through a process of investigation, and we enter that process at a certain stage where we want to know if we think that person's innocent or not.
I got to interview other people that was like my age, people that I knew from high school. And we just talked about gun violence and how Philadelphia really changed us growing up in that process.
They're consistent. Like they don't take breaks. Like on TV, you'll see them go party, then the next day go to court. On there, it's just strictly work. They like to get their job done. They're passionate about it. You could tell that they like doing the work they do.
That's like these people are out here daily trying to help improve our environment.
So it was really nice to have people who were so advanced right in front of me and to tell me that I was doing really good. And I was like, wait, okay.
So I think it's like those light bulb moments where you're excited about what you're learning, and it's a whole new pathway that's opened up to you that you never considered. And you have these attorney mentors that are there to guide you along the way as you're exploring all of these new issues.
It was one of the highlights of my summer working with Kevin. He brought so much energy and so many new ideas and just such a fresh outlook into the work that I do, which honestly is, it's challenging to be working in gun violence. And so to have Kevin there was like a gift to me.
For a pilot year, I think we were blown away by how well everything came together and the responses from students who connected so immediately to the attorneys, to their opportunities.
If you build it, they will come. So if we provide the opportunities, they will be used, they will be cherished.
And we know going into your first internship, it's intimidating. There can be things that you don't understand. You're afraid to ask questions. The journaling mentor was there as a sounding board to help them through some of the difficult moments and to help them process what they were learning and for them to think through how they could tie in what was happening in their internship with goals they had for themselves, in post-secondary.
Just talking to people, having that connection, just having that person to look up to and be there for you while you're navigating your time in high school, which you don't really have to worry about anything, was really helpful to me. And really, it really made me feel special.
It was a great pleasure to work with them, honestly. I loved my supervisor and her boss, and he actually got to come to my school and speak about what he do, and to actually experience it after he spoke to us was I was just thankful for it.
It's a good program to go into because throughout the program they'll bring in different representatives of different areas of law. They'll help soothe your career path, and from there they'll put you in an internship. They'll help you bring that along further.
I would say that I learned a lot. It offered a great opportunity.
It was a good experience overall. I'd do it again if I had the chance.
We're going back to Kensington Health Sciences Academy next year, and hopefully in the years that come, we'll be elsewhere because more and more kids should have this program available.
I'd like to invite the students who are in the room and Ayanna Lewis to the stage so that you can all see who they are and congratulate them. The Bar Foundation can't wait to see what this program continues to grow into in the future. I hope that the students who participated this year will remain engaged in the issues they became acquainted with in the past year and will continue to help shape the program in the future. Thank you so much for participating tonight. I am now incredibly happy to be able to introduce to you Mary Gay Scanlon, although in this gathering she really needs no introduction. She is a fierce advocate and partner to our civil legal aid community, of the rule of law, and of the critical importance of supporting a public education system that provides all students with the knowledge, skills, and critical thinking skills in particular, and empathy that they need to flourish and engage in our democratic, pluralistic society. She has been the representative of Pennsylvania's 5th District since 2018. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium.
Thank you. It's good to be here with so many friends from BC, before Congress, before COVID, before a lot of other things. So thank you. Thank you to the foundation for inviting me to be here. Thank you, Jessica and everyone. And congratulations to this year's winners of the Pro Bono Awards, my former colleagues at Ballard Spahr. I knew I was leaving the program in good hands. And also the great team at Duane Morris. Those are the two firms I worked for. Strange. So members of the general public are often surprised to learn that all lawyers have an ethical obligation to provide pro bono service, but it is definitely not a surprise to the dedicated and often unsung folks who lead our pro bono programs, whether here in Philadelphia or across the country, at both the law firm and the legal services sides. I'm so grateful for the work that the Philadelphia Bar Foundation and the firms represented here have done to increase access to justice for people in our communities. I know how special the Philadelphia legal community is. We have the good fortune to have some of the finest law firms and leading legal services nonprofits dedicated to providing access to justice in the nation. It is amazing the wealth of resources we have here. And providing legal counsel to those who need it most. And much of that work has been supported, of course, by the Philadelphia Bar Foundation. You know, in Congress, I lean on the folks in this room all the time, whether I'm leveraging legislative constituent services and legal aid to better serve constituents and small businesses in my district, or bringing stories of Philadelphia's eviction court to build a legislative history for the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan to establish why a portion of the eviction relief funds needed to be spent on access to counsel. Or as co-chair of the Bipartisan Access to Legal Aid Caucus, providing programming to help members of Congress understand why it's so important to fund legal services in a variety of contexts and at much higher levels than we have been able to do so for decades. So I'm eternally grateful for the world-class minds and ideas of the folks. Judy Bernstein Baker was just telling me about a new bill that's going to be introduced to provide better funding to address tangled title, and that's coming out of the Philadelphia experience. So whatever I can do to help move the needle of justice in my current position, I'm really grateful to the support and the deep knowledge that comes from this gathering. So one of the things that I was able to leverage from my experience here in Philadelphia was to advocate for the Biden White House to reestablish the Office of Access to Justice. It was something that had been started during the Obama administration to coordinate access to justice efforts across departments and beyond just the Legal Services Corporation. And it was particularly important as we implemented many of the COVID-era public assistance programs that quite frankly, ordinary folks often need help to get access to. So I had learned what attorneys in this room know, which is government assistance programs are often not truly accessible, whether for veterans trying to get medical benefits or seniors trying to access housing and heating support, or immigrants trying to navigate our very broken asylum system without access to counsel. So to everyone here who participates in those efforts, thank you. It's really, really important. And I'm proud to be here with Director Rachel Rossi from the Department of Justice's Office of Access to Justice, because she helps coordinate that work across the country and even around the world. So really looking forward to hearing from her. We have a lot of work left to do in Congress to make the goal of access to justice for all, to have enough resources to do that, but obviously I want to be an ally in Washington as we do that. And I also want to ask for your help at this moment of inflection for our country. My job title's changed a little bit, but I'm still all in for the rule of law, and we have some challenges in that area. So whether you're participating, as I know the Public Interest Law Center is, and folks working with the Committee of 70 to make sure that everyone who is eligible to vote is able to do so, that we beat back challenges to the rule of law and to our constitutional system, and whether everyone just gets out and votes between now and November 8th. Really appreciate everything everyone is doing, and thank you.
So as Mary Gay said, now to close our program this year, I am very deeply honored to be able to introduce Director Rachel Rossi of the Department of Justice's Department of Justice's Office for Access to Justice. I'll get it right one day. When Merrick Garland spoke at our virtual event last year, he underscored the importance of the fight for equality and equity in our society, and the role of the Justice Department in that work. The reopening of the Office for Access to Justice is an important step in advancing this work. Having had an opportunity to chat with Director Rossi today, I can tell you she is ready. She is ready for the challenge and eager to get on with the work. Please read more about her in the program book. I don't want to take up your time now, but please welcome her to the podium for her remarks.
Good evening. Thank you for that very kind introduction. And thank you to the Philadelphia Bar Foundation for this fantastic event. It really is an honor to be here together with so many partners and so many leaders in the fight for equal access to justice. And I want to just briefly acknowledge the fantastic awardees who've been recognized tonight, Sue Ming, Ballard Spa, Dwayne Morris. It really is inspirational to see the work that you're leading. We know that today, and particularly in the wake of a global pandemic, the justice gap continues to preclude far too many from meaningful access to the protections and rights promised by our legal systems. As Attorney General Garland has frequently said, one of his highest priorities is focusing on the urgent mission of access to justice. Last year, as you've heard, he announced the reestablishment of the Office for Access to Justice, and it's a lot of access justice departments, so it's hard to say. We're really, really pleased that the office has been stood up. We are reporting through Associate Attorney General Vinita Gupta, who many of you may know is a longtime leader in this work and sends her regards. I was honored to be named the office's director earlier this summer. And our office has since been working on a phased strategic growth plan to establish and embed the federal voice and role in this effort to pursue access to justice. We've been working to modernize and expand the office's work, vision, and scope, and we're currently engaged in career hiring to expand the office's staff. Our mission is to engage in the bold, transformative, and systemic work necessary to ensure that all communities have access to the promises and protections of our legal systems. So what does that look like? First, the core concept of access, you all know, means fairness and equity. In our Constitution and in our federal and state laws, we have articulated a powerful set of rights. But those rights are not worth the paper that they are printed on if people don't have the means to vindicate them. This, of course, can mean meaningful access to counsel and legal assistance. Many of you in this room are providing that critical access. But it also means simply ensuring that when a person receives a legal notice, that they can actually understand it. It means thinking about how a person can get to a hearing, whether that means access to transportation, to appear in person, access to broadband and technology so they can appear virtually. And it means breaking down the economic hurdles like unjust fines and fees that can impact justice outcomes, not on the merits, but based on status or wealth. We only have equal justice under law when we remove those barriers so that every person in this country has the ability to meaningfully and effectively exercise and vindicate their rights and to take part in the protections promised by our laws. Your city's right to counsel laws have recognized this and truly are a remarkable step toward balancing the scales of justice for all in a number of categories of civil proceedings, including in evictions. Second, access requires us to incorporate principles of innovation and modernization. We live in a time when technology is developing and evolving at a pace that most of us can barely keep up with. I know my computer crashes about 2 to 3 times a day, it seems. And technology really does provide us with opportunities to streamline systems so that we are reducing legal burdens on people, particularly historically underserved populations who may already be facing layers of complex obstacles to accessing justice. And the pandemic both highlighted the need for resources and system improvement across our courts and spurred overdue modernization and technological improvements. But innovation really means much more than just technological fixes. We know there are times when only the assistance of another human will do. And so innovation also means finding creative ways to reconnect people in need of assistance. Advocates, navigators, creating novel strategies and techniques for reaching people and making sure that they know what their rights are and how to exercise those rights. Much like you're doing here in the Elder and Justice Civil Resource Center in Philadelphia. Or there are times when our very legal practices and proceedings simply require new approaches and new visions entirely. Innovation also looks like the Philadelphia Eviction Diversion Program, which enables landlords and tenants to arrive at an agreement without having to go to court. Innovation also looks like many of the programs described here today, many of the awardees, the mentorship program, all of the efforts that folks are looking around and saying, what can we do differently? What can we do to innovate and to look at our systems in a different way? And finally, access requires the systemic work to ensure the integrity of our legal systems themselves. We must not only work to dismantle barriers to our existing legal systems and to support expanded legal assistance, we have to also engage in the transformative work to reform the underlying inequities within the systems themselves. And this starts with an acknowledgement that our legal systems have failed too many people. In part, these failures are the result of structural inequities that are deeply embedded in our society and in our systems. In order to build community faith and trust in our systems and institutions, we have to ensure that they operate fairly and accomplish their promised goals. With these broad guiding principles guiding much of our office's work, I'd like to share just a couple of our office's accomplishments so far. We're working to support access to counsel and legal assistance. This includes the Justice Department's efforts to expand legal assistance and eviction diversion strategies across the country in the wake of the expiring eviction moratoria. The Office for Access to Justice is working to build upon this work to continue the pursuit of access to justice in eviction and foreclosure proceedings. Also, last fall, White House Counsel's Office and Attorney General Garland reconstituted the Legal Aid Interagency Roundtable. This is a collaboration of over 28 federal agencies, which the Office for Access to Justice directs, staffs, and runs. They convened the first principals convening of this roundtable last year, and we issued the 2021 report called Access to Justice in the Age of COVID-19. We're currently underway with efforts toward the 2022 principals convening and report. And in January, we moved the federal pro bono program into the Office for Access to Justice, and we expanded its resources for the first time in over 20 years. This expansion of the program will allow pathways for thousands of more federal attorneys to volunteer to help fill the justice gap through pro bono work. We're also working to pursue access to justice in criminal legal systems. In April, during Second Chance Month, the Office for Access to Justice led the drafting and publication of the Reentry Coordination Council's report. This was a collaboration with 6 other federal agencies to present recommendations to Congress on reducing barriers to successful reentry for individuals released from incarceration. And in conjunction with the release of that report, the Office for Access to Justice worked with the high-level officials from these 6 federal agency partners to host a reentry simulation. This allowed our partners from all these other member agencies to get a better glimpse and understanding and to discuss the complex hurdles and barriers faced by people impacted by the criminal legal system. And just last month, for the first time in over 5 years, we hosted a meeting with Justice Department leadership and the National Public Defense Organizations and officially announced the relaunching of quarterly convenings with the public defense community. Our office is also working to promote language access. In May, the Office for Access to Justice hired the department's first ever Justice Department-wide language access coordinator. We're building out a language access team to expand access for those who are not English dominant speakers, both internally across all of the Justice Department's work and programs and the courts that we oversee, and also externally with our partners and supporting our partners at the state and local level. We're also working to expand access to justice's voice in the amicus brief and statement of interest filing practice. We're doing this to really elevate the federal voice in the access to justice principles in litigation. Most recently, the Office for Access to Justice partnered with the Civil Rights Division at DOJ and issued a statement of interest in the case against the town of Brookside, Alabama, that alleged an unconstitutional enforcement of municipal fines and fees and seizures of vehicles during traffic stops. The Office for Access to Justice is also seeking to promote access to justice for those seeking reproductive health care. In July, our office supported and assisted to staff a convening that was hosted by Attorney General Garland and the White House Counsel's Office with Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta and other officials that was called Lawyers in Defense of Reproductive Rights and Justice. This convening brought together reproductive rights, health, and justice organizations and the legal community to discuss responses to the complex and changing legal landscape. And our office is working to revitalize the access to justice voice of the United States internationally. This summer, I was pleased to join the U.S. delegation to the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination in Geneva, Switzerland. We discussed the U.S. efforts to focus on eliminating racial disparities and to pursue access to justice. The committee was very focused on civil access to justice specifically. And last month, I spoke at the OECD Global Access to Justice Roundtable in Riga, Latvia, where 38 member countries convened to collaborate on people-centered approaches to access to justice. And this is just the beginning. We have far to go as we build and hone our office's scope and work, and we have much to learn, particularly from work at the state and local level, work like many of you are doing and leading in this room. As I close today, I'd like to bring this broad concept of access back to the foundational why and the reason why it all matters, the people that we serve. I actually started my career as a public defender. And as a young public defender, I had a client who was houseless, had mental health issues, and consistently racked up new misdemeanor charges for sleeping on the sidewalk. And he would always come back to court with his shopping bag full of citations, dutifully, for each arraignment. And when I told this client that the system afforded him two options, he could plead guilty, or we could fight his case at trial, he told me, I choose neither. He came back to court each time, and each time I presented him with the only two options that the system had for him in the way that it operated. And he just continued to say no. Neither of those would do. Neither of those options was justice. He knew that a system that would force him to obtain a criminal conviction for not having a home and a bed was not justice. And he knew that spending weeks in back-to-back trials was simply not justice either. I ended up crafting a lot of mitigation, pushing for months, tiring everyone out in that courtroom until finally all of his citations were dismissed. But this client taught me an invaluable lesson about the mission of Access to Justice that I have carried with me throughout my career. This pursuit often requires us to reimagine our systems and to push for visions that others just may not see yet. I know that many in this room have been at this fight for decades, leading this work. And we know that this fight is hundreds of years old. The struggle for freedom, equality, autonomy, dignity, framed just down the street from where we are today. But as you continue in this critical mission, please know that the Office for Access to Justice will join you in refusing to accept a widening justice gap, continuing to creatively and boldly push for more, and demanding the promised ideals of equal access to justice until they are realized. I look forward to partnering with you in this work, and I thank you so much for inviting us here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Rossi. You have really inspired us. And I love the idea that we can't just take the answers that are presented to us. We have to think creatively about them. And that's what this community does, as you have seen tonight. I want to just thank you all for being here or online, for all of your support throughout the year, for the work that the Bar Foundation does. As you have heard, we have a lot of work still to do. So we are very grateful for any donations that you will make. And you have been told how easy it is. And those of you who are in the room, please stay for coffee, drinks. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.